Welcome to True Crime Case Files, bringing you a detailed account of real-life mysteries that have captivated the nation. Today's episode takes us to Arlington, Texas, where the vibrant life of a young college student was tragically cut short. This is the case of Elena Montez, a 21-year-old who vanished after a Taylor Swift concert on March 31, 2023. Elena Montez's life was a vibrant tapestry of ambition and melody, woven with the threads of her dreams and the rhythms of her favorite songs. At 21, this University of Texas at San Antonio student was not just another face in the bustling corridors. She was a beacon of hope and determination. Majoring in business administration, Elena had her sights set on the entrepreneurial world, envisioning a future where she could merge her love for music with a thriving business model. Born and raised in the cultural mosaic of San Antonio, Elena lived with her parents, Connie, a nurse at Methodist Hospital, and Hector, a high school history teacher. Her 18-year-old brother Xavier, a budding soccer player at Lee High School, shared a close bond with his sister, often seen cheering from the stands at her intramural basketball games. The Montez household was a hub of warmth and laughter, with Elena often being the heart of their family gatherings. Her personality was as magnetic as her dreams were vivid. Friends described her as the kind of person who could light up a room with her presence and make anyone feel like they mattered. In the weeks leading up to her disappearance, Elena's social media was abuzz with anticipation for the Eras Tour, Taylor Swift's latest musical venture that had fans across the globe in a frenzy. Her Twitter feed was a mosaic of countdowns and throwback Swift songs, a testament to her unwavering excitement. On the academic front, Elena's professors at UTSA spoke highly of her innovative ideas and her recent project on digital marketing strategies for independent artists, which had garnered attention from local media outlets like the San Antonio Express News. Her LinkedIn profile showcased endorsements for her leadership skills and her role as president of the university's entrepreneurship club. As March of 2023 unfolded, Elena balanced her time between her coursework and her part-time job at the Pearl Farmers Market, where she managed a booth selling artisanal crafts. The market, a popular weekend destination, was where she honed her business acumen, engaging with customers and local entrepreneurs alike. Elena's dreams were as much a part of her as her generous spirit. She was a young woman on the cusp of weaving her aspirations into reality, a melody of life tragically silenced too soon. On the 1st of April, under the vast Texas sky, a chilling silence fell over the Montez household in San Antonio. Elena, who had set out with vibrant spirits to attend Taylor Swift's Eras Tour concert at AT&T Stadium in Arlington, had not returned. The event, held on the last day of March, was the talk of the town, with fans streaming live updates and sharing their excitement on platforms like TikTok and Instagram using hashtag #SwiftErasTour. Elena's parents, Connie and Hector, experienced a growing unease as the night progressed without a word from their daughter. Calls to her cell phone went straight to voicemail, and texts remained unanswered. The bright morning of April 1st brought no relief, with Connie's pleas on Facebook for any information on her daughter's whereabouts echoing the desperation of a mother's fear. The weather in Arlington that day was unseasonably cool, with a crisp breeze that hinted at the remnants of winter. It was in this climate that Ben Peterson, a local jogger and an accountant by profession, discovered a scattered array of personal items in a deserted alleyway not far from the stadium. Among the items was a purse, its contents strewn about, including a UTSA student ID that bore Elena's smiling face. Ben, with a sinking heart, recognized the gravity of his find. He promptly contacted the Arlington Police Department, his voice betraying the anxiety of someone who knew they had stumbled upon a piece of a much larger, darker puzzle. His call triggered an immediate response from local authorities, who had been alerted to Elena's absence through a growing social media campaign driven by her friends and family. The scene was secured as Detective Wanda Van Dyke and her partner Detective George Traynor arrived, their expressions somber. The alleyway, now a focal point of their investigation, was combed for evidence, each clue meticulously documented and preserved. The local news, including outlets like WFAA and the Dallas Morning News, began to pick up on the story, their headlines casting a spotlight on the urgency of finding Elena Montez. The investigation into Elena Montez's disappearance intensified as the Arlington Police Department mobilized its resources. The morning of April 2nd saw detectives Wanda Van Dyke and George Traynor leading a team of officers at the scene where Elena's belongings were found. The alleyway, a nondescript service lane typically unnoticed by the daily hustle of Arlington's busy streets, was now cordoned off with the familiar flutter of yellow police tape. Detective Van Dyke, a seasoned officer with a reputation for her meticulous nature, and Detective Traynor, known for his keen analytical skills, approached the scene with a practiced calm. They were aware that time was a luxury they did not have. The Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex's news outlets, including the Star-Telegram and NBC5, had already begun circulating Elena's story, bringing a sense of urgency to the public's awareness. The detectives coordinated with the Texas Department of Public Safety to issue a statewide alert. The department's recent investment in advanced forensic equipment was put to use as officers collected fingerprints and scanned for trace evidence using high-resolution imaging. The FBI's assistance was enlisted to analyze cell phone records and surveillance footage from the surrounding area, including the AT&T Stadium's extensive camera network, which had been monitoring the concert crowd. The police's arrival at the scene was swift, with patrol cars and unmarked vehicles arriving within minutes of Ben Peterson's call. The detectives were thorough in their approach, knowing that the initial hours of an investigation are critical. They interviewed potential witnesses, including local shop owners and residents, while uniformed officers canvassed the neighborhood, distributing flyers with Elena's photo and description. As the daylight waned, the Arlington PD's social media accounts provided updates and appeals for information, while local broadcasters like KXAS-TV interrupted regular programming with news bulletins regarding the case. The community's response was immediate, with tips and potential sightings flooding in, each one documented and followed up by the dedicated team of investigators leading the search for Elena Montes. The first person of interest in the case of Elena Montes was her boyfriend, 24-year-old Oliver Taquito. Oliver, a graduate student pursuing environmental science at the University of Texas at San Antonio, was known for his advocacy on climate change issues and his volunteer work with local conservation groups. His academic pursuits and extracurricular activities were well documented on his LinkedIn profile, which featured endorsements from professors and colleagues alike. Detectives Van Dyke and Traynor brought Oliver in for questioning on the afternoon of April 2nd. The interview took place in a sterile room at the police station, equipped with recording devices, as per standard protocol. Oliver, appearing distraught yet cooperative, provided a detailed account of his whereabouts on the night of the concert. He had been at a climate rally in San Antonio, an event corroborated by time-stamped footage from local news channel KSAT 12, which covered the gathering extensively. The detectives probed into the couple's relationship, seeking any signs of discord that could point to a motive. Oliver described their relationship as strong and supportive, a claim supported by the couple's exchanges on social media platforms like Instagram, where they often shared moments from their hikes in Government Canyon State Natural Area and their participation in Earth Day events. As the interrogation progressed, Oliver remained composed, answering questions with a clarity that suggested transparency. His alibi was further solidified by testimonies from fellow activists and time-stamped selfies he had posted on Twitter during the rally. With no evidence to suggest his involvement in Elena's disappearance, and after several hours of questioning, the police concluded that Oliver Taquito was not connected to the case. The focus of the investigation shifted as the detectives continued their search for leads that could unravel the mystery of what happened to Elena after the Taylor Swift concert. The second suspect scrutinized in the perplexing disappearance of Elena Montes was her concert companion, 22-year-old Natalie Reading. A fellow student at the University of Texas at San Antonio, Natalie was pursuing a degree in literature and worked part-time at the Twig Bookshop, a local independent bookstore renowned for its community events and author signings. Her passion for poetry and prose was evident in her contributions to the university's literary journal and her active presence in the campus book club. On the evening of April 3rd, Natalie was escorted to the Arlington Police Department for questioning. The atmosphere in the interview room was tense, as Detective Van Dyke and Detective Traynor prepared to peel back the layers of Natalie's account of the night Elena vanished. The interrogation was methodical, with detectives cross-referencing her statements against the timeline of events captured by the numerous security cameras at the AT&T Stadium. Natalie, visibly shaken but determined to assist, recounted their evening in vivid detail. She described the energy of the crowd, the excitement as Taylor Swift took the stage, and the chaos of the post-concert exodus. She and Elena had been part of the throng of fans streaming out of the venue, their ears still ringing from the encore performance. It was in this flurry of activity that she lost sight of Elena. During the interrogation, Natalie's demeanor remained cooperative. She provided her ticket stub and merchandise receipts, which placed her at the concert venue at the specific time she claimed. Her digital footprint, including Instagram stories and Snapchat posts, corroborated her presence and the fact that she and Elena had been together throughout the evening. Natalie's emotional response to the questioning was consistent with someone in shock and grief over the loss of a close friend. Her alibi, supported by digital evidence and eyewitness accounts from other concertgoers, led the detectives to conclude that she had no involvement in Elena's disappearance. With Natalie reading cleared of suspicion, the investigation's focus shifted once again as the quest to uncover the truth behind Elena's tragic fate continued. On April 4th, as the early morning sun cast a soft glow over the city of Arlington, a grim discovery shifted the trajectory of the case. In a desolate patch of land on the outskirts of the city, a local construction worker, Edgar Willis, came across the unthinkable, a body. The peaceful morning was pierced by the call he made to the Arlington Police Department at 7:15 a.m., reporting his find. The body was identified as that of Elena Montez, the UTSA college student who had gone missing after attending the Taylor Swift concert at AT&T Stadium. She was found lying in a shallow ditch near an unfinished housing development, a stark contrast to the vibrant life she once led. The cause of death was determined to be a gunshot wound to the chest, a violent end to a night that began with music and celebration. Detectives Van Dyke and Traynor arrived at the scene, accompanied by the forensic team, as local news helicopters from stations like WFAA began to hover overhead, capturing the scene for viewers across the Metroplex. The detectives worked to shield the integrity of the crime scene from the inevitable media frenzy as the news of the discovery spread rapidly on social media platforms, with Twitter hashtags like #JusticeForElena gaining traction. The forensic team meticulously collected evidence, combing through the surrounding area for shell casings, footprints, and any other clues that could lead to the perpetrator. The investigation utilized advanced technology, including drone surveillance to capture aerial views of the scene and 3D imaging to reconstruct the crime. As the news of the discovery of Elena's body broke, the community of Arlington and the student body at UTSA were left reeling. Vigils were organized, and tributes poured in, with classmates and professors expressing their shock and sorrow on university forums and local talk shows like Good Morning Texas. The Arlington Police Department, now dealing with a homicide investigation, vowed to leave no stone unturned in their pursuit of justice for Elena Montez. As the city of Arlington grappled with the tragic news of Elena Montez's death, the focus of the investigation shifted to a new suspect, James Brownlee, a 51-year-old with a history of petty crimes. On April 6th, detectives honed in on Brownlee, who had been spotted at the AT&T Stadium on the night of the Taylor Swift concert, his presence captured by security cameras and several witnesses' cell phone footage. Brownlee, a man whose life was marred by a series of run-ins with the law, was known to frequent the areas surrounding the stadium. His rap sheet, which included muggings and minor thefts, painted a picture of a man struggling on the fringes of society. Local businesses in the vicinity of the stadium had long been wary of Brownlee, with some shopkeepers having captured his loitering on their Ring security cameras just days before the concert. Detective Van Dyke and Detective Traynor, alongside a team of officers, approached Brownlee's last known address, a rundown motel on the edge of town, known to be a haven for transient individuals. The motel's registry, signed under a pseudonym that Brownlee had previously used, confirmed his stay on the night of March 31st. The interrogation that followed was tense, with Brownlee initially presenting a facade of ignorance regarding Elena's disappearance. However, as the questioning intensified, cracks began to show in Brownlee's story. His demeanor shifted from feigned indifference to barely concealed agitation. He vehemently denied any involvement, but the detectives were unyielding, pressing him on the inconsistencies in his account. They presented evidence of his proximity to the crime scene, including geotag posts from his seldom-used Facebook account, which placed him near the area where Elena's body was found. The interrogation stretched on, with Brownlee oscillating between anger and a grudging acknowledgement of his presence in the area. Despite his attempts to deflect blame, the mounting evidence and his own slip-ups during the interrogation led the detectives to believe they were on the right track. With James Brownlee now the prime suspect, the investigation took a significant turn as they delved deeper into his past and his possible motives. The investigation into the murder of Elena Montez reached a pivotal moment when forensic evidence conclusively linked James Brownlee to the crime. Brownlee, a 51-year-old Arlington resident with a history of criminal activity, was apprehended following a meticulous analysis of the evidence collected at the crime scene. Ballistic reports matched the bullet that ended Elena's life to a handgun previously confiscated and returned to Brownlee after a prior arrest. This critical piece of evidence was the linchpin in the case against him. Brownlee's fingerprints, found on a discarded soft drink can near the scene, further implicated him. The can, still displaying the limited edition Taylor Swift tour branding, had been sold exclusively at the concert venue, placing Brownlee at the stadium on the night of Elena's disappearance. Once a man with aspirations of starting his own auto repair shop, Brownlee's life had taken a series of dark turns, leading him down a path of desperation and petty crime. His dreams had crumbled, replaced by the harsh reality of his circumstances, which were documented in a series of bleak posts on his sporadically updated Twitter account. The interrogation by detectives Van Dyke and Traynor revealed a man consumed by his failures, his temper flaring as they confronted him with the evidence. Brownlee's initial attempts to deny his involvement gave way to a begrudging acceptance as the weight of the proof against him became undeniable. The method of the murder was brutal and opportunistic, a mugging that escalated to homicide. Brownlee's motive, as he eventually confessed, was robbery, driven by his dire financial straits. The revelation that Elena had only $45 in her purse highlighted the senselessness of the act. Local media outlets, including the Arlington Voice, were quick to pick up on the story, with the community expressing a mix of relief and horror at the details of the crime. The swift work of the Arlington Police Department brought a sense of closure to a case that had shaken the city, but the sorrow for Elena's untimely death lingered. The cloudy morning of April 7, 2023, saw the culmination of the Arlington Police Department's intensive investigation as they moved to arrest James Brownlee for the murder of Elena Montez. The operation was discreet yet decisive, with detectives and officers coordinating to apprehend the suspect without incident. Brownlee was found at a local diner, a place he frequented. As mentioned in a Yelp review, he had left just 2 weeks prior. Unaware of the impending arrest, he was sipping coffee, his demeanor calm until Detective Van Dyke and her team entered. Upon seeing the officers, his expression turned to one of resignation, the reality of his situation settling in as he was read his rights and handcuffed. The news of the arrest spread quickly, with Twitter updates from the Arlington PD and live reports from news helicopters belonging to stations like Fox 4 providing coverage of the unfolding events. The community watched as the man accused of taking one of their own was led into a squad car, his head bowed. Brownlee's reaction was a mixture of surprise and acceptance. He seemed to have anticipated this moment from the second the detectives began to unravel his web of lies. As he was escorted to the police vehicle, he remained silent, his fate sealed by the overwhelming evidence against him. Elena's family, who had been following every development, received the news of the arrest with mixed emotions. There was relief that justice was being served, but also a profound sense of loss that no arrest could ever mitigate. Their statement to the press, delivered outside their home with a portrait of Elena placed poignantly beside them, spoke of a desire for justice and a plea for privacy as they continued to grieve. The arrest marked a significant moment in the case, providing a semblance of closure to a community rocked by tragedy. Yet, for the Montez family and Elena's friends, the journey through their sorrow was just beginning. The trial of James Brownlee for the murder of Elena Montez commenced on a humid August morning, with the eyes of Arlington and the wider Texas community fixed on the courthouse. ADA Harriet Smith, a seasoned prosecutor with a reputation for her tenacious pursuit of justice, led the charge against Brownlee. Her opening statements were broadcasted live, with local news outlets like KDFW and online platforms providing minute-by-minute coverage. The defense was helmed by Ivan Polyev, a defense attorney known for his measured demeanor and strategic courtroom tactics. Pike's profile, featuring his past successful cases, was highlighted on the law firm's website, setting the stage for a contentious legal battle. As the trial unfolded, the prosecution presented a narrative of the events leading to Elena's untimely death, supported by a plethora of evidence, including the damning ballistic report and the security footage from the concert night. The defense countered with arguments focusing on Brownlee's troubled past and lack of intent, suggesting a life marred by socioeconomic hardships that led to a moment of desperation. Throughout the proceedings, Elena's family sat in the gallery, their expressions a mosaic of grief and resilience. Their presence was a silent testament to the life that was lost, with Elena's mother, Connie, often clutching a locket containing her daughter's photograph, a poignant image captured by court sketch artists and shared across social media. The trial's emotional toll was evident, with spectators and jurors alike grappling with the weight of the testimony and evidence. The defense's attempts to humanize Brownlee were met with skepticism, as the prosecution's case, underscored by the senseless nature of the crime, resonated strongly. As the trial neared its conclusion, the anticipation of the verdict consumed the community. The Montez family, supported by a network of friends and UTSA students wearing ribbons in Elena's memory, awaited justice. The trial's outcome would soon be revealed, but the impact of Elena's story had already left an indelible mark on all who followed the case. The courtroom was silent, the air thick with anticipation as the jury returned to deliver the verdict in the trial of James Brownlee. The decision came after days of deliberation, following weeks of emotionally charged testimony regarding the murder of Elena Montez. On the morning of September 14th, the jury found Brownlee guilty on all counts, a verdict that rippled through the courtroom and across the community. News of the conviction spread swiftly, with live tweets from reporters inside the courthouse and breaking news alerts from local media outlets like the Dallas Morning News. Online forums and community Facebook groups lit up with discussions, as the public digested the outcome of one of Arlington's most followed trials. The sentencing phase began shortly thereafter, with ADA Harriet Smith arguing for the maximum penalty, citing the heinous nature of the crime and its impact on the Montez family and the community. Ivan Poliov, Brownlee's defense attorney, pleaded for leniency, referencing his client's troubled upbringing and lack of a violent criminal history. Judge Carrie Kong, presiding over the case, sentenced Brownlee to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. Her decision, she stated, was influenced by the need to serve justice and protect society from a man who had shown a capacity for unprovoked violence. Elena's family, who had attended every day of the trial, received the news of the sentencing with a mixture of relief and sorrow. While justice had been served, it did nothing to fill the void left by Elena's absence. The Montez family's reaction was captured by local television crews, their faces a portrait of a grief that would endure far beyond the trial. In the aftermath of the sentencing, the community of Arlington and the UTSA campus where Elena had been a beloved student continued to grapple with the tragedy. The verdict and sentencing brought legal closure, but the emotional wounds remained fresh for those who knew and loved Elena Montez. In the months following the trial and conviction of James Brownlee for the murder of Elena Montez, the city of Arlington and its inhabitants began the slow process of healing. The Montez family, forever altered by the loss, channeled their grief into action, establishing a scholarship fund in Elena's name at the University of Texas at San Antonio. The fund, aimed at supporting students in the business program, was a way to perpetuate Elena's dreams and aspirations. Detectives Van Dyke and Traynor, who had become household names due to their frequent appearances in media updates on the case by outlets such as the Texas Tribune, continued their work with the Arlington Police Department. The case had left an indelible mark on their careers, reinforcing their commitment to serving justice. Oliver DeQuito, once a person of interest, returned to his studies and advocacy work, but the shadow of the case lingered. He became more active in environmental causes, perhaps as a tribute to the future he and Elena had envisioned together. Natalie Reading, Elena's friend and the last to see her alive, took a semester off before returning to UTSA, her perspective irrevocably shifted by the tragedy. As for James Brownlee, his life sentence was a daily reminder of the consequences of his actions. Incarcerated at the Allen B. Polunsky unit, he had ample time to reflect on the life he had taken and the lives he had affected. The Montez family's resilience was a source of inspiration to the San Antonio community. Connie Montez became an advocate for victims' families, while Hector Montez dedicated a corner of his classroom to Elena's memory, encouraging his students to pursue their dreams with the same fervor his daughter had. Elena's story, though cut tragically short, continued to resonate. Annual memorials were held at the Pearl Farmers Market, where she once worked, and her memory lived on through the music she loved. The scholarship in her name ensured that her aspirations would live on in others, a legacy of hope from a life taken too soon. The tragic end of Elena Montez's life serves as a stark reminder of the fragility of life and the impact of crime on families and communities. As we close this case file, we remember Elena not for how she died, but for the vibrant life she lived. Thank you for joining us on True Crime Case Files. Until next time, stay safe and stay vigilant. Hey, True Crime Case Solvers, interested in more real-life murder mysteries? Be sure to like and subscribe to our channel. And do you have any thoughts about this case or have a case of your own you'd like us to investigate? Leave us a comment. Until then, stay safe, True Crime Case Solvers.